94.9 WDKB. It is Smart Business Time now, sponsored by WDKB and the Small Business Development Center at Waubonsee Community College. It's in partnership with Kishwaukee College. I am Sean Lowe, and my esteemed colleague, Dr. Jock Samis, is with us. And we're joined for this session by Jonathan Brust, who is also the mayor of Genoa. So, Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Happy to be here.
And Dr. Jock, I'm going to turn it over to you to get things started today.
All right. So, Jonathan, if we go into the Genoa website, we can see all these great things about you. But do you want to kind of tell us about the journey from being just a guy to an alderman and then the mayor?
Yeah, absolutely. And great to talk to you again, Jock. My journey into this position really wasn't planned out to start out. I really was a local kid that grew up in Genoa, and through that time, through school and through that early kind of stages in life, I made a lot of connections, ended up working for 3 different businesses in Genoa. And one of those businesses, the owner, who owns a local Ace Hardware, was the president of our Economic Development Commission. And just kind of as it happened, she'd reached out and said, "Hey, we've got an opening on this board, and we think you might be a good fit. Would you be interested?" Not really knowing what to expect, I joined that and was a part of the Economic Development Commission for about 1.5 years. And then again, very similar. The mayor had an opening on the city council, said, "Hey, we think you might be a good fit. Would you be interested?" Said yes. And so my career kind of has been a saying yes progression, and was on the alderman for about 6 years, and then ran for election just over 1 year now. I guess it's been over 1 year now in the mayor position. It's been great.
And that's, saying yes, not being afraid to say yes is probably pretty key to doing a lot of things. Sean says yes all the time, and he doesn't know what he's getting into. Like this show, for example, would be a great example of that. But Jonathan, you said you're on economic development, and that's how we met, because you're trying some economic development ideas in Genoa. So I guess the question that's begging to be asked is, why, if I have a business or I want to start a business, why do I want to come to Genoa?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jock. And it's actually one we've been spending a lot of time thinking about. And not even just the business side, but in general, what makes Genoa unique? And we're working through that process. We're revitalizing close to a 15-year-old comprehensive plan that really needs some updating. And part of that is what sets Genoa apart. I think as Genoa, we're a relatively small town. We've got about 5,000 to 6,000 folks that live here and call Genoa home. And some businesses might say, "Oh, well, that could be a negative," but other businesses really latch on to the fact that we're not an extremely large city where they can get lost in the mix. And so I think what attracts businesses to think about Genoa in general is we have a really well-maintained downtown, and you drive through, it has a lot of traffic, and just driving through, you kind of look around, you see some folks walking on the streets, and it just seems like a very pleasant place to enjoy a nice night. We ran an event not too long ago called Harvest Fest, and most of the people I talked to at that event had come from DeKalb or Harvard or Byron and all these far off places. And they came and stopped and said, we had no idea Genoa existed, but it is just beautiful, and it seems like a fantastic community. And that community aspect really is...
I'm sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that community aspect really builds a strong foundation for businesses to come in and feel comfortable that they're going to have clientele. And then on the flip side, Jock, I think the government, we play a really crucial role. We need to make it very easy for businesses to do business with us. And I'm of the opinion, if we're the easiest city to do business with, we're going to have more opportunities and more success.
Sure, there's no doubt. Tell us about the comprehensive plan. I mean, how it was developed before and what you're doing going forward with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it was developed a while back, a few administrations ago, and they looked at Genoa comprehensively, and there's some really great insights in that plan. I think not only the timing makes this process due, but I think it missed out on the execution standpoint, which I believe is really crucial to anything you do as a city, is to making sure you know overall what your goals are, and then how do you achieve those goals. So we're taking a binary approach where we're looking comprehensively at our community, and then we're taking a strategic approach and mapping out which steps do we need to take to attract the types of businesses that would benefit and add value to the supply chain, the community, the area, the values and things like that of Genoa. So we're actually partnering with Northern Illinois University, as well as another consulting firm, and they're going to help us build this comprehensive plan with a ton of community input from businesses and residents. And I'm really excited about it. We're going to get started here pretty quick.
And you have some things going on now. I mean, I saw some construction recently. What's that about?
Yeah, so we have, believe it or not, it's a Dunkin' Donuts coming into town, and it may sound small potatoes for some folks, but for Genoa, it's a great logo, and we're really proud to have them coming into town. Also, potentially another restaurant coming in. There's a lot of interest heading east of Genoa, and I think what is attracting a lot of these businesses is a couple areas. I mentioned the downtown, and a few years ago in the previous administration, we put together a downtown revitalization grant. And this is a grant that we pay for half of a building facades project. So if you wanted to repaint or rebrick or replace windows on a facade on Main Street, we would cover half of those costs, up to $30,000. And it's a fantastic way for business owners and building owners that might need a little bit of motivation or financial help to make their buildings look really attractive. And since doing that, it genuinely has transformed the downtown and the look and feel of the community. And so we're having these developer conversations, bringing them in. They look around and they believe that Genoa is going to progress in the right direction rather than stagnate. And I think that makes a pretty big difference.
So, chicken and egg kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Do you try to attract residents first, or do you try to attract businesses first? I mean, mm-hmm. You're probably going to say it's both, but I mean, you're a Genoan born and raised. So what makes you love Genoa so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what it really comes down to, our community is a foundation, and they're the foundation of Genoa. And without our community members, I don't believe Genoa would be what it is today. And I say that meaning the residents, the community members that are business owners. We've got a new coffee shop that just recently opened up, Open Door Coffee. They've won awards in the county for being best coffee shop. And they were a family that moved to Genoa, saw value there, and wanted to start a business. And it's these types of stories, I think, that almost form this cycle where you have a strong foundation of good people that can believe in a new business and stand behind someone and support them, which attracts interest from potential business owners, which then attracts folks to move to Genoa. I think the only area we really have to stay not cautious, but focus on is that we don't lose the culture of what Genoa is. Genoa is great the way it is and the way our community works together. And I'd hate for us to, go in a direction and then the residents feel like we've lost what makes Genoa special. And it's that real community feel. So we need to be very strategic with our growth, which falls back to that comprehensive plan to make sure, things are in the right direction.
All right, Jonathan, can I jump in here, Jock, real quick?
Well, Sean, you just did, so go ahead.
I'm glad my esteemed colleague is letting me jump in here. But, Jonathan, that fine line you kind of have to walk sometimes between government, and you're on the government side, but yet you're on the, born and raised side here. You're a Genoan for life, been there a long time, and now you're on the government side. You're probably having to walk that fine line between, how much the government's involved and how much you personally want to get involved. Can you talk a little bit about how that is and how you're walking that line?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Sean. Like you said, I've been able to call Genoa home for a long time, and one of the reasons I ran for this position is because I really believed in Genoa. I believe in the culture, and I believe that with the right ideas and the right guidance, we can maintain what makes us great, but still grow. Because I think today there's a lot of small communities out there that aren't growing, and if they're not growing, I really believe that means that they're shrinking, because they're just not attracting folks to move into town. They're not maintaining that incremental growth while still maintaining the character. And so I think somewhat unique, having been here for so long, I kind of know what it feels, things we might want to stay away from. And I think that helps pepper the areas that we want to target. So when we have conversations with developers and business owners, I've got a sales background, so I like prospecting and I like cold calling people. And I've genuinely cold called franchises, and I've had some interest in certain areas. And I think being direct and proactive, we can help attract what we want to attract and not have to worry about turning away businesses that might not be the best fit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I just know it's got to be tough sometimes. There might be a little struggle there. Like, personally, you want to do this, but as the mayor, you should do this, and not getting caught up in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a great example, this isn't quite economic development, but we're going through a large a wastewater plant expansion project. Thrilling, right?
It's very sexy, Jonathan.
Very sexy.
Very exciting.
So everyone wants a wastewater plant expansion in Genoa. And so the struggle is, as a resident myself, in order to fund a project like this, that means the rates potentially could go up. And so then I see on the flip side, as a community, if we need to grow and if we need to have capacity for businesses to come in, we have to expand. And so it's balancing when, how big, what type of an investment, what's the smartest way to go about it. And it is a fine line, Sean. And so I lean very heavily on my city council. We have a fantastic city council. We have a full-time city administrator, Alyssa. She is fantastic, and she runs the show. and really, I'm just there for kind of guidance and things like that. But it can be a tough line to walk, Sean, for sure.
So, Jonathan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. What kind of programs would be available for businesses? I mean, you mentioned the facade program. Is that still going on? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. We've seen a lot of buildings take advantage of it. There's a few more that are interested, haven't quite filled out the application yet, but that's open. And then we have another program we launched about a year ago called the Winterization Grant. And this was more when COVID was coming pretty heavy, and restaurants, they weren't able to operate internally. So we offered a grant up to $10,000 for businesses to build outdoor seating and safe place for folks to eat during maybe those colder months, not quite winter, but the fall and early springtime. So we offer that. Genoa is part of the DeKalb County Economic Development Zone. And actually, we're unique in that almost the entire border of Genoa is within this economic development zone, which means lower sales tax on building supplies. It means property tax incentives, and really we can get really creative. So there's quite a lot that we have available, and we'd love to talk with folks that are interested, certainly.
So the state and the county, as well as the city, are all offering incentives for Genoa.
Right.
Okay. So why do I want to choose Genoa over the other cities in the area that I'm not going to mention, Jonathan, because we don't want to give them any kind of publicity?
I love our communities around us. So go ahead. You can mention them all you want, Jack. Why Genoa? I think part of it comes down to what I mentioned earlier about you need to be easy to work with. And we've talked with a lot of developers that have a great success working with other local communities, and some that have had a lot of challenges working with them. And so internally, myself, our administrator and staff, we've started re-looking at how we approach any development or any business that comes to Genoa. And so we're actually building out a very simple process in detail to give to someone who may not know how to go through all the different specifics of, let's say, filing an application or getting on the planning commission agenda, or how do I, get this approved at city council? What does that process look like? And so we're almost building this step-by-step kind of color by numbers approach, making it very easy to work with. That in conjunction with our full-time city administrator, we have a lot of ways we can help for a city as small as we are. And it's almost that approach of saying, do you go with the boutique firm that is very specialized and very focused, or do you go with the corporate mega firm that might have different resources but might not be as focused and tailored? We've really taken that tailored, focused approach, and it's working out very well.
Sean, do you want to add anything before I jump in with the next question?
No, I'm going to let you jump in with the next question here real quick, and then I'm going to jump in after that.
Okay.
I'm just pre-warning you now.
Okay, good. So I'm going to be quiet after this question. Okay, after Jonathan's response. So, Jonathan, a little bit about, you told us the why, you ran for mayor. Was there a burning desire at any point when you were growing up that you wanted to be a politician?
No. No. Like I said, this was like a say yes progress here, and I'm a big believer in challenging myself, and I could get into that story at another time, and just kind of throughout my life setting myself challenges and then making those happen. But I just saw this as it's a really unique opportunity. I mean, how many mayors do you know in life other than working with the government, right? Through a project or something like that, or complaining about something that you don't like. So it's an interesting opportunity, and it's a way that I feel I can give back to the place that I've loved to call home for such a long time. I think I bring a creative background of the sales experience and business development experience. And so when I thought about all these things and the timing was right, I said, let's give it a shot. And so, the campaign was an experience. It was challenging and fun. But yeah, it wasn't something, Jack, that I, thought about early in school. I was going to go become a politician or become a governor. So this is just something to kind of help out the local community.
Great. All right, Sean, it's your turn.
Jonathan, I thought that was a great answer. It just no. So when you're running for mayor, now you're mayor. Mm-hmm. Do you feel after it's one of those be careful what you wish for kind of things, because now you get there, but now you're faced with, you probably have all these ideas as you were running for mayor or thinking about running, like I want to do this, I want to do that, and then you get there and you're like, ooh, this isn't going to be maybe as easy as you probably have more things you do than you might have time for. So now you have to start prioritizing things. Should I do this? Should I do that? Can you talk a little bit about the process by how you started to whittle those things down and kind of focus in on where you are right now versus where you thought you would be when you were campaigning? And then after you become mayor, how do you move forward from there?
Yeah, great question.
I'm impressed, Sean. That was pretty good. It's not like you, good. So that was good.
Sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Right.
So, this was my first campaign I had run formally, right? So when you're campaigning, you think of the big 30,000 foot view: safety, public improvements, economic development, and then I feel like you dial in, what do you bring that's unique to the table? And I've talked about my background and being here in a while. And then once you get into office, for me, it was a big change because I had sat around the city council for some time, but I really didn't know what went into bringing things to the agendas, and how are certain things decided on beforehand before we get to look at it. And the budget process was still, a little bit fuzzy and things like that. So once I got into my position, it was a little bit eye-opening on okay, there's a lot to think about here, and it's more than just, all right, let's do public improvements. It's, we have personnel, not challenges, but we have personnel to think about, and we have employees to keep happy, and we have a union to negotiate with, and we have all these things that you don't really think about when you're campaigning, but they're so important to running a consistent community and government. So the first few months was really a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and then slowly checking off, all right, these are the things that we need to get done and make sure we're on track in the next few months. And then peppering in, all right, biggest priority is we need some opportunities and leads to start with for an economic development project. And so, like I said, I was cold calling franchises and businesses and local businesses if they want to expand and things like that. And so I think you need to take this multi-tier approach a lot of times of the long-term plays, the short-term plays, and then keep the house in order. So that was pretty interesting, Sean.
I'm sure it was an eye opener because again, you're coming in with one focus, thinking I'm going to do all these things, probably wanting to be aggressive, wanting to show people that they pick the right person, they put the right person in office, and you're like, I'm going to do all this, and then you get there and you're like, okay, pump the brakes a little bit. Now I gotta prioritize and weave your way down that path and make sure that you are doing the things you said you wanted to do, but yet now you're hit with some of those things that you didn't know were going to be there. Right. It's kind of a challenge, I would guess. A
lot of pressure. You take all the blame and you take all the praise too if something goes right. And so it's on both ends of it. But yeah, there's a ton of pressure. Absolutely.
And speaking of praise, I wanted to give a shout out to Alyssa, the city administrator, who just does a great job. Very diligent, works a lot of hours, is probably underpaid, although I don't know what she gets paid. But I'm not mentioning that, Jonathan. But I mean, she's just a fireball and is just great and easy to work with that I have found. So, Jonathan, you guys have all kinds of events in Genoa all the time. What's coming up soon with you guys?
Yes, we do have a lot of events, and real quick, I want to echo what you just said about Alyssa, and I want to extend that to the rest of city staff and all of our department heads, all of our employees. One of the things that I didn't have to worry about, Sean, to your earlier question, was bad staff. They were fantastic, and I was very fortunate to come in, and I was able to promote some folks like Alyssa into the position that she's in now because she deserves it, and our finance director and our public works director. And so that part was great. And I also want to give a shout out to our Chamber of Commerce, who all these events I'm going to mention, a lot of them started with our Chamber of Commerce, very community driven. And Chrissy Johnson does a fantastic job maintaining strong relationships, getting our businesses involved in the community and giving back. So really blessed just to have a good group and team all working together for Genoa. So yeah, coming up, we have a car show coming up in August here that shuts down our entire main street, and it runs on Sunday. I believe it's the 20th. I might have to get the exact date for you, Jack, but it's coming up here in a couple of weeks. We just had Bacon Fest, which was full of bacon. Yes, you heard that right, Bacon Fest. And we had bacon beer and bacon and cookies bacon and anything you can think of, there was bacon on it. We had hundreds of people come out. It was a blast. Some live music over at Lloyd's Landscaping. We have the Volksfest event, which is coming up in late September, October timeframe. And it's really interesting. And if you haven't heard of it before, have either of you heard of Lucha Libre wrestling? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, that was
I
that's.
call myself Nacho Libre, actually.
Yeah,
so.
Jack, you could probably partake if you'd like.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I think Jock does actually partake in that.
The mask kind of covers everything.
Yeah. So we had this wrestling event last year. It was a riot. I mean, the kids absolutely loved it. It was so fun to bring it to town. And so that kicks off a 3-day weekend with the Kishwaukee Valley Wanderers, something called Volksfest, which is a music, beer garden, kayaking the Kish, duck race. We have Harvest Fest coming up late September as well. I mean, we have a ton of events coming up in the next couple months. And so, yeah, please keep an eye out on Facebook and your friends to come to Genoa.
Sean, have you attended any of those events in Genoa?
I've attended. I almost attended the wrestling event, but then I knew you were going to be there, so I couldn't put myself through that. But because I didn't want to see you get hurt. That's what I was.
Thank you.
I was scared about your safety.
Very kind of you. Yes.
I've been to Volksfest one time before. That was quite the event. I've been in the river for the duck race before. That's happened in the past. I mean, there are a lot of great events that happen there, and also Genoa Days. I've been to that before. So yeah, I've been to a few in Genoa.
Nice. Okay. Jonathan, any parting words you'd like to leave us with?
Sean, Jock, I really appreciate this opportunity. I think this is a great platform for folks to just learn about what's out there. And, as I mentioned, I think connections are incredibly important. And so if there's anyone out there that's thinking about starting a business, whether that's in Genoa, DeKalb, Sycamore, anywhere, reach out to some folks and talk to Jock, talk to some folks at the Small Business Bureau, talk to your local alderman or city council members, because they are a great resource to just brainstorm ideas with you and make things feel approachable. A lot of times working with government can seem very scary or high pressure. I mean, come to a city council meeting. Usually there's only one or two people that show up. We'd love to have input from the community. We'd love to talk with you before and after, even if it's a complaint. I mean, we're here to represent the people of our communities, and we're not here fighting against them. We're here to make their lives better. I'm a resident myself. I want my life to be better and more enjoyable too. So just I encourage everybody to consider reaching out to your local government and any business owners. We'd love to talk with you. We have some great ideas and opportunities as well in Genoa. So if you're interested in starting a business or developer looking to expand, we'd love to have a conversation.
Great.
All right. Well, Jonathan, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see the insight from the government side of business, because sometimes we see it a lot from a business owner, but not, the government side, because, the government plays a big important role in getting business into their area. So, seeing it from your perspective, especially a resident that's now become mayor, worked your way up from city council into mayor position. It's kind of interesting to see that and to see that process go and to hear what you have to say about things like that, about new businesses. Like you're hungry to get more businesses into the Genoa area, and that's always great to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that.
Yep. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. This is the Small Business Development Webinar Series, and we couldn't do it without my fine, esteemed colleague, Dr. Jock Samise. And Jonathan, thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great day.